Hi, my name is Vince Mickens with the Private Air Media Group. Welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace. I'm sorry, I'm just laughing because I was complaining about why is Victoria talking while I'm talking and blah, 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 blah. And it was all on me. And yeah, welcome to the show. It's going to be a really good show. I have been doing shows on scholarship programs and some of the education institutions that have really good aviation programs. And so I'm going to follow suit with this one and have another discussion about it. But this one has some uniqueness to it. It is the United States Air Force program, and it's a program that a lot of people may have heard of, may not, and may not know about. But what's really key are a couple of things. One is it is for 16 to 18-year-olds. So it's those of you who are right there in high school that are trying to figure out what you're going to do, and maybe you have an interest in aviation. And this is a great way to verify that. And it's a summer program, and it's all paid for. So if you get accepted in the program, you are flown out to one of the schools. You spend 3 weeks there. You go through a pretty comprehensive program, which we're going to talk in detail about, and you get up to 15 hours of actual flight training. And that's puts you well on your way with a path to becoming an aviator. So looking forward to having that conversation, especially when my mic is actually working by turning it on. It's amazing when you turn something on, how it works. So let me introduce the guest on the program. And I'll start with the captain and the director of the program. And there we go. The director of the program. So he's the United States Air Force captain, Justin Moorhead. And he's the director of the Aim High Flight Academy program, which is part of the Air Force Recruiting Services Detachment 1. Captain Moorhead, welcome to the program with me actually being heard.
Hey, good morning, Vince. Thanks for having us on the show. Looking forward to discussing it.
No, looking forward to it too. I'm really excited about it. I did my homework on it and had some conversations with you guys prior to today. And I just think it's a great program. I love the tie-in with the aviation schools. One in particular that we have on today with Victoria being from the University of North Dakota. So I'm really looking forward to it. We also have a United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, Kelly McNerney. Lieutenant Colonel McNerney is the Director of Operations for the Air Force Recruiting Services Detachment 1, which is a pretty comprehensive involvement as head of office for that. And he's going to tell us more what that means and what that's about. Lieutenant Colonel McNerney, welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace.
Thank you for having us, and happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. Also joining us from the Air Force's Aim High Flight Academy program, who's worked with the program, but currently she's a first lieutenant, Courtney Tomas. First Lieutenant Tomas is a KC-135 Stratotanker pilot. I was just teasing her about it because I think it's really cool for someone that recently has come out of flight training and everything, and as in within the last couple of years, and has had an opportunity to do a whole lot of missions flying co-pilot in a Stratotanker. And for those of you who don't know what a Stratotanker is, it's that big aircraft that refuels other aircraft. And it's the size of an airliner or bigger. And it's pretty neat. It's a 4-engine aircraft. And I just think it's cool that you get to fly that. So welcome to the show, First Lieutenant.
Thank you, Vince. I'm really happy to be here and talk to you.
Happy to have you here. And I understand you're stationed at Fairchild Air Force Base just outside of Spokane, Washington.
Yes, that's correct.
So you're over there where it's a little earlier than it is for us here on the East Coast.
Just a little bit, but I had my coffee, so we're good to go.
So you're good to go. Great. And on the civilian side of things, or as I like to say, on the civilian side of the airport fence, we have Victoria Johnson. So Victoria started out great because her first name is the same as my firstborn. So Victoria, that sets you perfectly for being a guest. No, Victoria is a certified flight instructor, a CFI, at the University of North Dakota's Aerospace Foundation, better known as the UND Aerospace Foundation. And she has a great story to tell, which I will just bring that up when we start talking about it. Victoria, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Very happy to have you here. Really excited about this whole opportunity. And there we go. I get everybody up on screen. So I guess I want to start out because I want to tell a little bit about who you guys are before we get into the specifics of the program. And I think both of you, I'm really speaking to both you, Victoria, and you, Courtney, that you guys have great stories to tell about your own past that you've taken. And I'm going to start with you, Victoria, because you actually started as a flight attendant and didn't even know that you had an interest in being in the cockpit. So tell us about that background, how that happened, and how you ended up where you are now.
Yeah, so I've been a flight instructor at the UND Aerospace Foundation for a little over a year now, but previously, the past 7 years, I've been a flight attendant for a major airline as well. Right after high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do, just like I feel like most people can relate to that. I was sitting on the couch with my grandfather, who was actually a flight attendant on the Air Force One, and he goes, "Why don't you become a flight attendant?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So I Googled how to become a flight attendant. Probably like 6 months later, I got a job opportunity for a major airline, and I just started becoming a flight attendant ever since. Shortly after that, I kept seeing females go into the cockpit, and I was like, how do I do that? Like, this is such a cool opportunity to be able to go up and do that. So I started researching, I started reading books about pilots, reading books about airplanes. And then I just kind of stopped because I didn't know how to pursue it. It's a different career to get into, and it's really hard to get into if you don't know people or, don't have an opportunity to do so. So I kind of just put that on the back burner and just kept being a flight attendant and never really thought anything of it. And then one day I was a flight attendant, I was working a trip, and my coworker, who was a female, kept asking me how I knew so much about airplanes. And I told her, well, I thought about being a pilot once, but then I didn't know how to pursue it. And she happened to be getting her ratings at the same exact time. So she's like, hey, you need to go, you need to do a discovery flight. I'll help you figure it all out. And if it's something that you want to do, we can talk about it and I can kind of mentor you to be able to do it. And basically after that, the rest is history. I did my discovery flight. I loved it. I actually did the discovery flight at UND, and I went to school there. I did all my training there. And now full circle, I work for them as a flight instructor.
Yeah, and the discovery flight, I'm glad you brought that up. That's been coming up a lot lately. And I think it is a very important aspect of introducing yourself to aviation and really determining if that's really something you want to do. Because it's one thing to look at a cockpit and say, oh, that looks like fun. And it's another thing to actually experience it and then start doing it. So I think that's important. I'm going to talk in more detail about it, but the program that you're involved with, if I'm not mistaken, you actually went to the school in Phoenix, right?
Yes. So
it's a 2-year program.
Correct. Yeah, I work for the UND Aerospace Foundation, and the school that I went there as well. It's a you get your associate's degree. You go to Chandler Gilbert Community College, which is associated with UND Aerospace Foundation. And then with that, you get your associate's degree in flight. And then you get all of your ratings up to CFI.
Okay. And you can also continue your education at University of North Dakota to get your bachelor's.
Correct. Yeah. So you can go up to North Dakota and then you can finish your 2 years up there. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they now have an online program that you can actually stay in Phoenix or wherever you want to go and continue your 4-year degree as well.
Okay. So let's see. North Dakota, super cold, Phoenix, nice and warm.
So I'm still.
I think I'll do the 2 years and then I do the online. No, that's great to know you have an option like that. So, we'll come back to you about more of that. Courtney, tell us a little bit about you and how you got involved in aviation and how you ended up flying a KC-135.
Definitely. So I was an Air Force brat. I actually grew up mostly in Okinawa, Japan at Kadena Air Base. So I've kind of always grown up around aviation. My dad was a maintainer, but it was never really something that I saw for myself. I went through high school, applied for colleges. I knew I always wanted to be an Air Force officer. So I did ROTC at UCLA, went to UCLA, went through all of that. And then my junior year is about the time where you kind of have to figure out which jobs you're going to start pursuing. And still at that point, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. There wasn't really anything that excited me. But I had a gold bar recruiter, which is someone who is in between, who just commissioned as a second lieutenant and is waiting for their next assignment, who goes around and recruits out of a college for high school students. And he was a pilot select, and he kind of put the idea in my head and was like, hey, you should do this. I really think you would succeed in this. Like, I think you should try this. And had it not been for him to like even plant that idea that like, this is something I could do, this is something I could be, I would have never gone for it. So he definitely mentored me through the process. It, especially through the Air Force, can be a really intimidating process. And I didn't really know where to start, but he helped me through that. And then same thing, I did an introductory flight to see if I even liked flying, and I fell in love with it. There's just something very empowering about being behind those controls, being up in the air. And I really fell in love with the community too. Everybody you talk to absolutely loves their job. And that's just something I wasn't really seeing in a lot of other career fields that really drew me to it. And it's a very close community too. And then went through pilot training out of Oklahoma, got picked for the KC-135, went through that training, and now I've been flying for about 3 years now and still love it. Still excited every single time I go up.
Well, congratulations on that. I'm going to go back on a couple of things. You said your dad was a maintainer. Was he aircraft maintenance, aviation maintenance technician?
He was an aircraft maintainer. He did sheet metal.
Okay.
He kind of worked on everything. Yes.
Gotcha.
In the 135, which is kind of funny, full circle.
Oh, wow. He did worked on the 135. Wow.
He did. Yes.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about as you said it is that you were a part of the ROTC program, the Reserved Officer Training Corps.
Yes.
That's it, right? Yeah. Program. And I think that shouldn't be overlooked. I think that's a great way to transition into the Air Force the way you did to become a pilot. And it's just great because it ties in with your college. You went to UCLA and you got in that program. And tell us a little bit real quick about that, how that influenced you and helped you move forward with what you're doing.
Yeah, so ROTC was a great option for me. I definitely wanted to be an officer, but I also wanted the traditional college experience, and UCLA was my dream school, so I didn't want to give that up. We met only 2 times a week, and you still got to get like the leadership lessons and the professionalism that you would get at the academy, and that kind of like they shape you into an officer through that training. And then your third year, you go through and you do your application process for the pilot selection board. And then, yes, after that, you go through all of kind of the same things that you would go through as an academy cadet, as OTS, and you kind of all start the same once you're in pilot training.
Sure.
So I loved ROTC. It was definitely the best option for me. And I think there were a lot of positives about it. Yeah,
I was just going to say, both you and Victoria have talked about the introductory part of getting into it. And that takes us to Aim High, because I think that's exactly what Aim High does, is it's an opportunity for young people to be introduced to what it would be like to be a pilot by actually experiencing it for, up to 15 hours of training, et cetera, and so forth. And that's a perfect segue for me, but I want to ask you before I go to Captain about it. What made you, or how did you get involved in Aim High when you were, you did your pilot training, you're flying KC-135s, even did combat missions, et cetera, and so forth. So where did Aim High come into that?
Yeah, so fortunately, I had somebody else in my squadron who was a part of the Aim High Flight Academy staff the first year that they did it. So I heard about it through them. But I absolutely love flying, and I am really passionate about this career, but something that sometimes I miss is kind of the mentoring aspect. I was a psychology major in college, so I really enjoy helping people and influencing people. And this was the best of both worlds, being able to influence youth and talk about the career field that I'm so passionate about. And like I said, had it not been for that gold bar recruiter telling me like this was something you can do and like someone believing in me, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I really wanted to be that person for somebody else, even if it was just one person, letting them know that like this is a possibility for them as long as they put their mind to it and put all the hard work in, that it was something that they could do. And it was great that Aim High Flight Academy helped me be able to do that for somebody.
Yeah, I applaud you for that. And you and Victoria have both had that mentoring experience that helped both of you move forward in your career. So that's great. Captain Moorhead, you have been, where did Captain Justice come from? That must be a Marvel. No, Captain Moorhead, you have probably been waiting and wondering when I was going to start actually talking about Aim High in detail. Why don't you give us an overview of Aim High Flight Academy, the summer program and everything, and what that's all about?
Absolutely, Vince. So, I think starting with Lieutenant Thomas's and Victoria's stories, both of them mentioned, experiences of people that mentored them, or I think Victoria said it well, right? Like it was something you kind of had to know somebody, right, to get into the field. So what Aim High Flight Academy does is it's an opportunity for 16 to 18-year-olds to just come in and experience it and remove some of those barriers to entry into the aviation career field, specifically for flying career fields and all that. So 16 to 18 years old, for as far as minimum eligibility criteria, the minimum GPA is 3.0, and then you get a letter of recommendation. And beyond that, the rest of it is just, completing the application online and all that. So if they come in, they get their first 15 flight hours paid for fully by the Air Force, along with the lodging, dining, all of those things are taken care of as well for the students that are selected. We send them to universities like UND Aerospace Foundation and California Aeronautical University and some of our other university partners to receive training for 3 weeks in the summertime. So that's a brief overview over the program.
Sure, and the program has been around for a while. So, but I'll ask both you and the Lieutenant Colonel McNerney. Part of this is also a diversity effort, both in terms of getting more women into flying and people of color. Would that be correct?
Absolutely. So the Aim High Flight Academy is one of 8 programs that Recruiting Services Detachment 1 accomplishes. One of our many initiatives in order to go into those untapped communities and resources to provide a more diverse team, because our senior leaders has recognized that with diversity comes tactical advantage. It makes us better critical thinkers when we bring people from different backgrounds. So when I say different backgrounds, I'm talking about work experience, cultural experience, socioeconomics. It brings that critical thinking aspect for issues that we don't even know are going to be in the future. Yeah.
Lieutenant Colonel McNerney, tell us a little bit more about what you do specifically as a Director of Operations for the Air Force Recruitment Detachment 1. What's that program all about?
Absolutely, sir. So we are rated diversity improvement, and what that is primed on is our rated career fields. So that's our pilots, our combat system officers, which are our flying navigators, and then our air battle managers. So depending on one aircraft, it could be similar to an air traffic controller for a battle space, or you're watching troops on the ground providing air support through those officers. And then the last but not least is our remotely piloted aircraft pilots, which are our drone and unmanned pilots, unmanned aircraft, excuse me. So we're trying to enhance the diversity of those communities to make it more reflective of our great nation.
Yeah, and so you said that the recruitment program is one of 8. So what's an example of some of the other programs within what you do?
So just like Lieutenant Tomas was talking about, going out there to mentor. So that's one of the things, is going to events and engagements that our strategic partners have identified to us, where we go out and we engage with youth, young adults, as well as influencers, to provide them the information and educate them on the pathways and opportunities that are out there. And what's more important is that our mentors, they've already gone through the trials and tribulations. So we want to help paint a pathway and let them share the obstacles that they had to overcome to set up youth for success, to really enhance that opportunity for our future leaders and our future youth.
Got you. How do you attract young people to this program? Coming back to Aim High, and what are you looking for? And what, you gave some of the requirements in terms of grade point average and things like that, but really in terms of attracting people and letting them know about this program, what are some of the things you want them to know as parents and young people listen to this or watch this and are wanting to know, okay, so far it sounds good. How do I get involved?
Absolutely. So as far if you think that you may even be remotely interested in just trying aviation, right? I mean, this is a fantastic introductory program, right? There's no previous flight experience required. All of our flight instructors are prepared to take students from absolute ground zero and all of that. People can go online and learn more about the program and get access to the application on the recruiting.af.mil website. That's where the application will be posted once it's live on October 1st.
Do you guys help in that's a 2-month, I think, application process, October 1st to the end of November?
Yes, so it'll open on 1 October and it'll close on 30 November.
That's why we're doing this show a few days before. Do you guys do anything or offer any assistance with the application process? And the reason I ask this is that as I talk about these scholarship programs and opportunities, I find that both students and sometimes parents are somewhat intimidated with the process in terms of, what they need to do and what it takes to get. And I refer people to these programs all the time. And then I'll follow up and say, hey, so did you apply? Oh, well, yeah, we're going to. So do you find that at all? And if so, how do you guys help people with that?
So we work with a bunch of our strategic partners. So one of the things that the students accomplish is like a nomination. So they can get that from any of our partner organizations. We've kind of pre-prepared all of those groups to kind of help their students get through the application process. As well as we at Detachment 1 are always available to answer questions and help guide students along in the process if they need help.
And in order to get a hold of us, we also have a webinar that occurs once a quarter. One's happening on 19 October, where it is an interactive webinar that takes our rated mentors on there to answer any Q&A. It paints a picture of how to get to basically butts and seats for the career that you want. But at the end, there's a Q&A to answer questions. And we've already had individuals come on there to ask questions about the Aim High Flight Academy application process. We also have an Instagram, which is USAF_inspire, which is another way that individuals can communicate and try and get some questions answered, as well as our Facebook page, which is AFRS Detachment 1.
Got you. Let's talk a little bit more about October 19th. Do you know what time that program is or how people can register for it?
Yeah, so it's October 19th. Usually it's in the evening around 6 p.m., but we can get the date specific and pass that to you so that you could share it with any viewers who are interested. But it will be posted on our Instagram and Facebook for people that want to register and sign up, because you'll have to register and it'll give you a link to be able to basically zoom in so that you can be a part of it.
Got you. First Lieutenant Tomas, tell us a little bit about your involvement with the mentoring when you were with the program, what it was like with the students, and a little bit more about what you did as a flight commander. And I think you said before the show that you do a combination of kind of managing operational logistics type of stuff and mentoring at the same time.
Yes. So the academy that I went to is 24 students. I think they're expanding that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So for mine, it was 24 students. So this might be a little bit different. And I was the flight commander of 8 students. And yes, my role was kind of managing the day-to-day operations. So ensuring that they were able to get to their flights, their sims, their academics, and that they didn't have any issues with that, but also a mentoring role. Like I said, it can be kind of intimidating trying to get into this career field just because of all of the application processes and requirements that you need. So I was there to kind of answer any questions that they had about the process, but then also about what it was like to be a pilot in the Air Force, because it's going to be very different than what being a pilot in the civilian world might be, and kind of the processes and the flying is different too. And then also just like mentoring on going to college, because a lot of these students are in high school. So they're still trying to decide if they want to do ROTC, if they want to go to the academy. And it was kind of my role to educate them on the different options, the kind of pros and cons of each one, and then helping them figure out what path they want to go on, or if they even want to join the military, because not everybody does, and that's okay too. But just mentoring them through that process and answering as many questions as I can, and being that person that they can come to, you know, months down the way, or once they're at pilot training, if they have any questions when they get there, just being somebody to support them and empower them and believe in them.
Yeah, I think it's important that what you pointed out too, that it's not a requirement to join the Air Force if you're accepted in the summer program. This is just to introduce you to it. Of course, the Air Force is going to do everything they can to want to bring you in and make you a pilot. That's just kind of a given. But it is not. It's not like once you're accepted in this program that you're going to become an Air Force pilot. Although that would be a great thing. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, Courtney, and ask you something you just referred to. What is it like for you as a young lady who's only been flying for a few years, flying a KC-135 Stratotanker? I just have to throw that out there every so often. What is it like for you being a pilot in the Air Force, being an Air Force officer, flying these missions and doing what you do?
It's amazing. Again, I cannot imagine being anywhere else at this point. I really love the community. Flying is a team sport. That's what we like to call it. It's really challenging, but it's also a really rewarding experience. And the people that you get to do it with they're some of the best people that I know. I've got really close with my pilot training class, just the way, and at Aim High Flight Academy, the students will experience this too. They all come in not knowing anybody, not knowing how to fly. And then over the 3 weeks, just being able to watch them grow close together and supporting each other, and just being so sad to leave after the camp is over. It's kind of just a taste of what it's like to be in the pilot community in the Air Force. We really do support each other. And then as far as my plane, I absolutely love it. I've gotten to work with NATO allies and major non-NATO allies. So being able to refuel French, British, Italian, that's just something that I don't think I would have the opportunity to do anywhere else. And I'm really grateful for my job, and I'm excited every time I go up. And I just want to share that with everybody else and kind of let them know that this is something that they could do.
Victoria, would you say that same applies for you on the civilian side, the team aspect of it, and the excitement that you feel with doing it? And what is it like for you, knowing that you were a flight attendant, I believe, for maybe 7 or 8 years?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I've been a flight attendant.
And then now you're, going to be sitting in the cockpit, flying the aircraft.
Yeah, I definitely say it's definitely a team sport. I mean, when I was a flight attendant, I'd always have encouragement, of people saying like, you can go and be a pilot, you can go and be a pilot. But I just needed that like one mentor to mentor me and tell me to go do my discovery flight and give me steps to take, just like everyone else is kind of saying. It's not a hard industry to get into, but you kind of just don't know what to do. So just us being mentors for, future pilots to just get their foot into the door, because you don't have to have the passion when you're at a young age. I didn't know I wanted to be a pilot till I was 25, right? So I feel like there's not a point in time as when you need to know you're going to become a pilot. But it's definitely a team sport, just like that was mentioned before. And I've had a great opportunity. I love teaching my students to fly. Every time someone solos, it's like the best day of their life. And I just love the opportunities that flight training has given me, and being a flight instructor has given me as well.
So you get more out of your being a flight instructor than just building time. You're actually enjoying seeing your students progress and what potential they have. Yeah,
definitely. So I feel like, obviously, being a flight instructor, we are trying to build time. We're trying to get our hours to go to the, an airline or cargo or wherever we want to go at some point. But right now, I'm just really enjoying the opportunity to mentor young students and get young students to want to fly, because being a pilot, it's a lot of, ground school. Flying the plane's one thing, but you do have to study and stuff. So encouraging the students and getting them, to make ground school fun and to make them want to do it is something I really enjoy, and I look forward to doing every day.
Awesome. Captain, you are a United States Air Force Academy graduate in I believe civil engineering.
Yes, that's
Yeah. Well, tell us about you and civil engineering and the academy and the Air Force and a little bit about your background.
Absolutely. So I like to say, as far as just I'm gonna take the background back a little bit, but I like to say the timing is everything. So for me, my best friend in high school went to the academy and called me up as I was a rising junior, so getting ready to go into my junior year. I had no idea what the academy was even at that point, right? He told me about it. I'm like, that's great. When do I start my application senior year? And he's like, no, man, you need to start now. You need to start in your junior year. So anyway, applied. I'm so thankful that he introduced me to the school. Got started in June of 2014, and then graduated in 2018. And I absolutely loved it. The people that I met there, all fantastic. I actually met my wife there. We were in the same freshman squadron and all that. So that was fantastic. And just
so you got the package deal.
Yes, you could say that.
You call it that. You also went on to graduate school, and what did you study?
So I just finished up my MBA, and then I'm going to get a second master's in engineering management in May, actually, this next summer.
Okay, and how does that tie in with your involvement with the recruiting and the Aim High Flight Academy?
So for me, it's just I bring a different perspective. I bring in a different perspective, just managing this program, a scholarship program, and all that. This is a joint spouse assignment for me as well. So my wife and I are both stationed here in San Antonio. We're not currently in San Antonio. I'm traveling right now, but that's a little bit about how it kind of fits.
How it all kind of came together. Got you. Lieutenant Colonel McNerney, tell us a little bit about your background and how you've done tell us about your career.
Okay, so well,
he's like, oh, no problem.
How I initially joined was I was in college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I probably changed my career 4 or 5 times, and then towards the end of the year, I said I want to be self-sufficient and travel the world. And so the Air Force was a great opportunity, and I was like, do I want my desk on the ground, or do I want it a couple miles in the sky? And so that's where I kind of decided I wanted to go be a flyer. And then I went to my local recruiter. I got picked up for OTS. I got selected as a combat system officer.
Officer training school.
Yep, officer training school. So sorry, yeah. So officer training school. And I got picked up as a combat system officer, which back then was known as a navigator. So basically, we tell the pilots where to go. We do the planning, and depending on the—
Yeah, that's what you guys say, but go ahead.
It is. But depending on the career field, you could be operating weapon systems, you could be controlling them, or you could be navigating the aircraft, and a multitude of other things. But how I explain it to people is we're like the Garmin, but for the pilots.
That's a great explanation. What kind of aircraft did you serve on?
So I started off in J-Stars, which is a E-8C aircraft. So it's similar to a civilian airline. So similar to the AWACS, who has the big Oreo cookie on the top, the dome. We're like the brother of the AWACS, where we call it a canoe on the bottom. So we watch the troops on the ground. So troops going in, troops going out, potentially looking out for ambushes, or if we're watching over certain bases and preventing attacks and calling them out to the troops on the ground to give them the tactical advantage.
Got you.
We also do that with the Navy. We'll provide overwatch for the strike groups that are going into certain areas. But those are some of the things that I got to do that I didn't know about. And I kind of took the leap of faith, saying, this is what I wanted to do. And along the way, I've found opportunities, and I'm just hoping to be able to share that with someone that was me back in the day, so that they're more aware and they can make more informed decisions and then choose that pathway with less obstacles.
As I'm talking with you guys about your backgrounds and everything, Captain, tell us about some of your students that have come through or been in these programs, what it's been like for them and what it does for them in terms of, if you think about it, somebody applies, they get in your program, they go to one of the 4 campuses that you guys now do the program with, and they actually go in an airplane and they start flying, and they start basically taking kind of a ground school and whatever else is incorporated, which maybe you can expand on it with that too. But what is it like with these kids? What are these kids like as they go through this?
So yeah, I mean, you could even see in pictures leading up to when they start the ground school, right? Like people are kind of like, you know, unsure, right? By the time they're soloing the aircraft all by themselves, they step out of that plane a brand new kid, right? There's a whole new level of confidence that kid now has, right? Having accomplished that major feat of being able to take off land by themselves. Yeah, so I mean, it's that's a big change, right, for the students, just getting that new skill set. Even if they don't, if they walk away and say, you know, I'm going to be a pilot, but maybe in my free time, that transcends into all aspects of that kid's life, being able to have that just confidence and all that.
Sure.
And they receive all the ground school and all that in place once they get to AIM High Flight Academy. Yeah.
Kelly, how about from your perspective?
So it's a lot of youth taking a leap of faith in something that they have no idea what it is. And for most of them, they're leaving home for the first time. And a lot of them struggle through a lot of homesickness initially, but then at the end, once they receive that solo flight or they're done with the program, the friendships that they establish with the students there, the mentors that they have access to, and then the confidence that they can do it, all that didn't matter. And a lot of our mentors do a great job of teaching them. For example, some kids never accomplished did their laundry before. So our mentors are there to teach them how to do that.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing. You got to know how to do your laundry.
And the skills that they acquire because of the organization that it is required to become a pilot and do those things, waking up early to try and beat the weather in the afternoon, like those are things that they acquire in the program. And we get parents who reach back that say, I don't know who this person is when they come back. Because now they have a passion and a purpose that drives them towards something. And that's what we want our mentors to do, is provide that passion and then show them the how-to. Because we feel like a lot of kids are in a maze of confusion with today's world. There are a lot of dead ends and they just don't know how. So it's easy for them to quit and get deterred. And all we want to do is turn it into a hallway of opportunity, which at the end of the tunnel is their light, what they see. And then on the sides, we have doors of opportunity that they can choose to walk in. And then we have mentors that can talk them down that path either way.
Sure.
Whether it is aviation or not.
Yeah. Besides being a great introduction to aviation, specific to the possibility of the Air Force, which brings me to the next piece of this. This must be a great transition for those who become interested in wanting to be an Air Force pilot. It must be a great setup.
Absolutely. So this is what we call pre-accession. So before you even start thinking about the Air Force Academy or ROTC or Officer Training School, like these are perfect segues that lead you into the pathway of success, and which will continue fueling that passion. And that's what a lot of, like myself, I didn't know how to get into ROTC. I didn't know how to get into USAFA. Well, I want to make sure my mentors can paint that picture. So depending on that individual's personal preferences and life situation, they can make the best educated decision. Because I just took a leap of faith chance, and it worked out for me. But I know for a lot of people, they wish they would have known more things. And that's what we want to do, is we want to basically put out the deck of cards, let the kids pick what they want, and then talk into depth, and then paint the pathway of how they can do that.
Yeah, Justin, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's in order for these kids to get to that point, right, where they want to be a pilot, right, they have to have experienced it and they have to see it, right, to believe it. So that's why our mentors are so important, and just getting up there and trying it, right, is just, yeah, it's so important for the kids to try that.
Sure. Victoria, I keep going back to this because I think this could apply to a lot of people. And I've heard of a few other flight attendants who have become pilots and now are flying first officer in a 7.6 or a 7.3 or whatever the case may be. So that's why I keep coming back to you. But I wanted to ask you, being a flight attendant and then now moving towards being in the cockpit as the first officer and eventually a captain, does that change your thinking about empowerment, so to speak?
Yeah, I definitely think it has improved that a bunch. I mean, I feel like as a flight attendant, me personally as a flight attendant, I didn't know I could, become a pilot. I didn't have that opportunity growing up. So then once I got the opportunity to do it and to see that females can be pilots, or anyone in general can be pilots, all they need is that one mentor, just like we've all been talking about. All they need is that one chance, that one conversation to, get to that next step. I think that's pretty much all of our goals at this point. And the program that UND has helps students do just that. Because if you don't know you want to be a pilot and then you go and you do this program, just kind of like what they said, they might do the program and then not want to pursue being a pilot, but they're going to be such a better person no matter what, whether or not they want to pursue being a pilot in the Air Force. But no matter what, they're going to come out with confidence and empowerment, just like I did from transitioning, from that flight attendant to the now pilot side of it.
Sure. The University of North Dakota has one of the most comprehensive flight programs on the planet. And I think the UND Aerospace Foundation initiative is really great because it involves a 2-year start. It involves a flight training program and all of the above. So, and an opportunity, I was going to say, to transition into getting your 4-year degree at the University of North Dakota, which we talked about a little earlier. What is it about all of this that I'm speaking of that attracted you specifically to UND?
Well, when I first went, like I kind of mentioned previously, but right out of high school, I wasn't even 21 yet, and I became a flight attendant. So I never got a specific degree in anything. I just dove straight into be a flight attendant and basically traveled the world for, 4 years. And then once I decided that I wanted to take that leap and become a pilot, I decided I did want to get my degree and eventually my bachelor's degree. So this was a great opportunity for me to do both things at one time, rather than just going to what we call a Part 61 school, which is, I don't know how to say it, but basically you just go on your own and you do it yourself. The
right.
one program is more of a structured program, which is what I personally needed, and what I think a lot of students do need in order to succeed itself.
Sure. It seems like the combination of the education side of it, as well as the flight training, which includes ground school and everything, is important for that. And what I was going to ask you, so UND has a pretty nice fleet of aircraft. The Flight Training Center in Phoenix, what kind of aircraft would pilots be training in? Or that you teach pilots to train in?
Yeah. So here at UND, we have all Piper Archers. They are all G1000 aircraft, which basically means we have an advanced electronical system. So the old school way of flying, you had little 6-pack instruments that you flew with. And now our entire fleet is completely G1000. Our maintenance at UND is amazing. We just write up the planes, they fix it, they bring them right back. And the program itself is just an awesome program. We just had the JROTC students here at UND 2 months ago, the entire summer training with us. So that just goes to show like what a great program UND is as a whole.
So the Piper is a single engine, low wing. This is just for the audience to know that may not be familiar with it. And as you said, has a G1000. You said it doesn't have a 6-pack. I always tell people it's not a 6-pack of beer or soda. 6-pack is the panel and everything. You actually have to explain that to people someday. They're like, oh, so they fly with a 6-pack. Why? So, that's a great training aircraft. And some schools have the 172 Skyhawk, which is the high wing. That does the same thing. It's just a different type of aircraft. So, and then you guys also have twin engine. You have multi-engine, right?
Yes, correct. We we fly Seminoles as well, and we have right. Yeah, we have. I believe there's 4 of them at the Phoenix location.
Okay, and then helicopters too, if I'm not mistaken.
The helicopter is only at Grand Forks, so we don't have a helicopter program.
You do not. So your focus is fixed wing there.
Yes, correct. Yeah, it's fixed wing, and then we have our multi-engines as well.
Yeah. Courtney, coming back to you, when you went through flight training, what was the succession of aircraft, and how did you end up in a KC-135?
Yes, so for pilot training, if you do have a PPL, then you wouldn't go through the initial flight training, which is in Colorado. But if you don't have a PPL, then you would. And then in Colorado, at initial flight training, we fly the DA-20, which pretty much has the same amount of power as a lawnmower, we like to say.
Yeah,
it's a really small plane.
It's a Diamond two-seater.
Yes. We could barely fit in there.
Yoke.
Yes. So we fly that. We get about 21 hours in that aircraft, and we'll solo at the end of that. And then after that, we each go to T6, which is the single prop aerobatic plane, and we'll do about 4 months there. We start with academics and then go through sim, and then we'll learn how to kind of just fly that aircraft. Then we'll go through a navigation phase and then a formation phase. And then after that, depending on our preferences, as well as how well we did in that aircraft, we split off into either the bomber fighter track and fly the T-38, or we split off into the T-1 track, which is cargo, tankers, etc. This program is changing a lot right now. So what I went through isn't going to be necessarily the same what some students are going through now or in the future. So just keep that in mind. But after that, I flew the T-1, which is a Learjet, and did about 4 months in that. Same thing, sims, academics, and then the flight line. And then we have something called drop night, which is where we find out what aircraft we want, and that's based off of what we ranked on our dream list, and then also how well we did in pilot training. And then after that, we graduate. But again, this is changing a lot. Pilot training is looking very different now, but that's just the program that I went through.
It is changing, and one of the main things that's happening is the T-38 is being replaced by the T-7A Red Hawk, which is pretty neat aircraft. They had a rollout of it at Boeing in St. Louis. And since I'm from St. Louis, no, it wasn't because I was from there, but I had an opportunity to be at that rollout, and actually I had an opportunity to fly the sim, and I got to say that T-7A. So yeah, Air Force, I got to fly the sim.
That's amazing. That's really cool.
It was a pretty neat experience. That's going to be a pretty fantastic aircraft for training and hopefully for the next at least half a century or so. So you're right. There are a lot of things going on in terms of changes with that. The other thing that's neat about the T-7A Red Hawk that I just have to throw in there is that they have named it that partially in honor of the Tuskegee Airmen. So the Tuskegee Airmen are red tails, and so they call this the Red Hawk as a way to honor the Tuskegee Airmen and that type of thing. And speaking of the T-1, although it wasn't a Learjet, it's a Diamond. No, not a Diamond. I'm sorry. It's I forget what kind of jet it is, but it has one of the famed Tuskegee Airmen on the side, his name.
Oh wow! That's awesome.
As an honor to him, Brigadier General Charles McGee, who lived to be 102 and flew over 400 missions or sorties across 3 wars for the Air Force. So while we're bragging about the Air Force, might as well throw that in too, right?
That's awesome. Yes. Definitely.
As we kind of start to wrap this up, I wanted to kind of get a final word from each of you, a little bit of feedback. And I'm going to start with you, Victoria, on the civilian side and what you're doing at UND. First, I want to ask you, what are your career goals? And secondly, you've been mentored. So what kind of mentoring would you give to young people watching right now that are maybe in high school or even in college, and they're still trying to figure out what it is they want to do in aviation? What would you say to them? But before you tell us that, tell us what your career goals are too.
Sounds good. So I think it would be really cool to go full circle after I get my hours as a flight instructor, and then I'll have to go work for another company, but then to go full circle and work back for the major airline that I currently work for. That's my ultimate goal. I think that'd be really cool to keep my employee number right now and then have that as I'm an FO. I've seen people do it before, so every time I see that, it kind of gives me motivation to keep going. So ultimate goal, work for the airline I currently work for, but just sit up front instead of in the back. And then as for mentoring students, what I'm trying to do, I just would tell them that one, it's never too late to do it. I know we're talking about 16 to 18-year-olds right now. So just because you're not in the aviation industry, or just because, you know, your parents, I know aviation industry, it's like, oh, my mom, my dad, they're, you know, everyone's pilots. That's why I'm a pilot. You can be first generation aviation. And we are seeing that more and more now. The first generation aviation coming out. It's just, we need to have conversations about it to get that seed planted in their heads. And that's why I think this is a great opportunity, that if you don't know what you want to do, you're never going to know unless you try. Just like Courtney and I both had our discovery flights. We had no idea we wanted to be pilots, but once we sat in the cockpit and flew, we instantly knew that's what we wanted to do. So you're never going to know, you know, unless you try. So I just say, go for it. This program is an awesome program to do, and it can't hurt to just try and maybe find a career in aviation.
Yeah, Captain Moorhead, how about you piggyback on that and give us a quick recap of the program and how to apply, et cetera, and so forth.
So absolutely. So just if for anybody out there that's listening, right? I mean, if you want to try your first generation, you know, potentially could be a first generation aviator. If you even think that you might be interested in flight, come and try it at Aim High. We'll teach you what you need to know. You can apply online at recruiting.af.mil/aim-high-flight-academy.
Did everybody get that?
Yes. Yeah. So you
guys can send me a chat and I'll pass that along. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So, and if you have any questions about the application process, tune into our webinars and learn about it. Ask questions there. Learn more about, you know, different pathways in the Air Force to becoming an aviator in the Air Force as well. And really just you know, seek as much knowledge as you can, right? Whether that's through our program, through any of our partner scholarships that are out there as well. And yeah, you have with knowledge comes power, and students out there can make informed decisions about what they want to do when they grow up.
Absolutely. And you're again an Air Force Academy graduate. You found out about it through your best friend, and that puts you on a career track to where you are now. And anything you want to add to that about finding out when you were in high school, almost stumbling on it, and then moving forward with it?
Yeah, I mean, just look for people that are in those seats where you're trying to go. For me, it worked out. You know, like I said before, the timing is everything. Which is why we go out there and try to, you know, make people aware of the opportunity that's out there. My time at the Academy was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Made a lot of great friends, and really grew myself a lot to become an Air Force officer. The reason why I'm an engineer is because of the mentorship that I received there from different civil engineers. For me, the guy that shows the picture of the hangar that he just built with a brand new airplane in it was awesome, right? I wanted to be that guy. That was me. But
so that was your motivation.
Yes, that was the motivation. That's what drove me towards civil engineering. And I've been to Japan for 3 years. I've been to Korea, and I'm only 26. So I love what I do. I love my stop in the recruiting service, doing what I do with this youth scholarship and all that. It's not something an engineer normally gets to do. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Courtney, you've experienced a lot regarding mentoring, the opportunity with Aim High, and you mentioned how important it is and how important it is to you and how you want to continue to do that. So what's your words of advice to young people that are wanting to, you know, get into aviation through a program like this, et cetera?
Definitely. Like Victoria said, it's never too late. I was kind of intimidated because a lot of people you meet, they're like, I wanted to be a pilot since I was 3 years old. And that just wasn't the story for me. So I was kind of intimidated by that. But again, never too late. You don't know until you try it. So just kind of taking that first step and putting everything you've got into it is huge. And just have a positive attitude, be open-minded to it, and just really believe in yourself and help the other people out too. And again, flying's a team sport, and the people around you is one of the best parts of it. So at Aim High Flight Academy, even if you don't walk away wanting to be a pilot, that's okay. You're still going to make amazing relationships and have the confidence that maybe you didn't have going into it.
Beyond flying the KC-135, what kind of goals do you have in the Air Force?
I love the Air Force so far. I think it's brought me a lot of opportunities, so I definitely want to stay in. Probably the ultimate goal is to be a squadron commander one day. A lot could change between now and then, but for now, that's probably my biggest goal.
Sounds like a pretty cool goal to me.
Thank you.
Yeah. Lieutenant Colonel McNerney, we'll let you kind of wrap us up here and give your perspective in the same realm of what you recommend to those who are coming in.
So similar to what everyone else is saying, take that leap. The only person that can say no is yourself. So for the youth out there, try it. You'll never know, and if you try it, you won't look back and wonder what if. And for myself, I just want to continue growing all of our programs, growing opportunities for our mentors to continue mentoring and sharing those pathways, to continue making this an easier pathway, because we're also trying to get after the pilot shortage, which is one of the major issues.
For everybody.
Yeah. So we're trying to also connect all of the people who are doing great things, because everyone's doing great things, but sometimes there are so many things, so much noise going on that people are unaware of those programs. So we also want to be the connective tissue and connecting our partners so that we can create somewhat of a pipeline that fits the youth of today for tomorrow's issues.
Well, Lieutenant Colonel Kelly McNerney, Captain Justin Moorhead, First Lieutenant Courtney Tomas, and certified flight instructor at UND Aerospace Foundation, Victoria Johnson. I'd like to thank all of you for being on the show today and sharing some of your background, your pathway, and most importantly, details about the Aim High Flight Academy and the importance of it and the opportunity with it, more importantly. Again, the application's open on October 1st, and the website for the go-to is what again, gentlemen?
It's I'll put it in the chat as well, but it's recruiting.af.mil, and then on the first thing you're going to be greeted with is a picture of a bunch of kids in front of an airplane. Just click that picture and it'll take you where you need to go.
Got you. Thank you guys for being on the show. It's really great to have you, and I appreciate the opportunity for you to share with our audience.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vince.
So you've been watching All Things and listening to All Things Aviation and Aerospace. I'm Vince Mickens with the Private Air Media Group. It's always exciting to have an opportunity to share things like the Aim High Flight Academy and other schools and programs with you guys, and we will continue to do so. Next week will be a little bit different show. It'll be featuring a company called Avinode. It's a worldwide company that deals with all aspects of brokering flights, et cetera, and so forth, and pretty neat and different opportunity in aviation. So looking forward to that. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. Until next time, everybody take care and stay safe.